Have you ever wondered why even the most experienced flight crews and ship captains make fatal mistakes that lead to disasters? In this video, you will see unique moments just seconds before tragedy, where every little detail can be crucial. These footage will send chills down your spine, and every moment of inaction will freeze you in horror. Be careful, this will shake you to your core. Incidents in the port of Barcelona. The incident that occurred on the morning of October 31, 2018, in the port of Barcelona, highlights the importance of adhering to safety regulations and managing a vessel in challenging conditions. The GNV Excellence collided with a gantry crane, resulting in serious damage to the ship's hull and a subsequent fire after the crane fell onto the fuel tank. Fortunately, despite the scale of the incident, none of the passengers sustained physical injuries, although 2 people experienced panic attacks and sought medical assistance. Weather conditions played a significant role in this accident. Strong winds in the port of Barcelona complicated the ship's maneuvering, which was one of the reasons for the collision. Incidents of this kind highlight the need for thorough training of ship crews to operate in extreme conditions and the importance of following all safety precautions when maneuvering in ports. As a result of the incident, significant material damage was caused. However, the most important thing is the absence of human casualties. The collision of the liner with the dock in Venice. The incident involving the MSC Opera cruise ship in Venice on June 2, 2019, is a striking example of how important it is to consider all factors when navigating large vessels, especially in narrow waterways and near densely populated areas. The cruise liner, weighing about 143.5 million pounds, collided with the dock and another river vessel. This led to serious damage to all objects and injuries to 5 people. One of the main causes of the disaster was a malfunction of the engine, which caused the liner to become stuck at full throttle and lose maneuverability. Despite the efforts of 2 tugboats that tried to prevent the collision, the situation got out of control. The snapped tow line of the tug worsened the situation, making the liner completely uncontrollable. The impact was devastating. The bow of the liner literally crushed the dock and the river vessel as if they were made of thin metal. On land, people panicked and rushed away from the scene, fearing further destruction. Even the attempt to ground the vessel proved ineffective as the liner continued to move forward. This incident sparked widespread public outcry and led to discussions about the safety of cruise shipping in the Venetian lagoon. Tugs remain indispensable helpers in managing large vessels, especially in narrow channels and ports. However, even with such support, unforeseen situations can occur. For example, container ships can carry hazardous cargoes like fuel or chemicals, making any accident potentially catastrophic. One of the most notable examples was the incident with the container ship Ever Given in March 2021. The giant ship, measuring 1,312 feet, ran aground in the Suez Canal, blocking one of the key global trade routes. The cause was adverse weather conditions, including sandstorms, which rendered the ship nearly uncontrollable. The canal was closed for 6 days, leading to significant delays in global logistics. Despite the scale of the incident, an environmental disaster fortunately did not occur. The ship did not sustain significant damage, and it was freed without any fuel or cargo leaks. The investigation revealed that the primary factor in the accident was natural conditions, along with engine problems on the cruise ship. The incident involving the cruise ship Viking Sky occurred on March 23, 2019. The liner, which had about 1,300 people on board, faced serious technical problems that led to the failure of all 4 engines. Mechanical failures and a sudden drop in oil pressure in the engine system put the ship in a critical situation. When the engine stopped working, the ship began to drift toward the shore, and the harsh weather conditions significantly complicated the situation. Tugs could not effectively maneuver the vessel, and the anchors did not hold it in place. Rescue vessels sent to assist were forced to return to shore due to bad weather. The crew managed to start one engine, which helped avoid an immediate collision with the shore. But this was not enough for a safe return to port. As a result, 6 Norwegian helicopters had to be deployed for the evacuation of passengers. The helicopters made 30 trips, evacuating 479 people while the others still remained on board. The stormy conditions created additional difficulties, and passengers filmed as the furniture in the cabins moved back and forth. Only the next day, when the weather improved, was the vessel successfully towed to a safe location. Collision between a military and a civilian vessel. Collision between the U.S. Navy warship USS John S. The collision of the U.S. Navy warship USS John S. McCain with the Liberian tanker Alnic MC off the coasts of Singapore and Malaysia was indeed the result of a series of mistakes and shortcomings in crew organization. This accident, which occurred on August 21, 2017, attracted significant attention and had serious consequences. The tanker Alnic MC, carrying chemical and fuel products, collided with the American destroyer, causing significant damage. Crew living quarters were flooded, and the engine rooms and communication systems were damaged. The U.S. Navy reported that the ship lost control just before the collision. The question of why the crew did not use the backup steering system remains unanswered. U.S. Navy officials stated that the causes of the accident were crew fatigue, poor communication, and heavy traffic in the waterways. Another collision involving a U.S. Navy destroyer, this time the USS Fitzgerald with the container ship ACX Crystal, occurred on June 17, 2017, and became one of the most talked about maritime accidents in recent years. Both vessels were equipped with modern navigation systems designed to prevent such incidents. Nevertheless, the tragedy occurred. Fate had it that 2 massive ships collided in one of the busiest maritime areas in the world, near Tokyo. The distance between them was about 3 miles, which is usually considered a safe interval. However, within minutes, a catastrophe occurred that resulted in the deaths of 7 American sailors and serious damage to the U.S. destroyer. The investigation revealed that crew error played a key role in what happened. 2 senior officers and a sailor with a high rank were suspended from duty and charged with negligence. As a result of negotiations, the owners of the Philippine cargo ship agreed to pay the U.S. Navy $27 million in compensation. Now, take a look at the footage just seconds before the emergency landings of the planes. The hard landings of the planes. The landing of British Airways Flight 38 on January 17, 2008, at London Heathrow Airport was indeed a striking example of the crew's professionalism and the Boeing 777's structural reliability. The plane was on a regular flight from Beijing, and everything was going smoothly until the final approach for landing. Suddenly, both engines lost thrust due to fuel icing in low-temperature conditions. The crew immediately switched to emergency procedures, trying to restore engine functionality, but to no avail. The plane continued to descend, and the pilots had no choice but to make an emergency landing right on the airport grounds. The plane landed just a few dozen meters from the end of the runway, which was a miracle in itself. During the landing, the front of the plane and the left wing sustained significant damage. But despite this, all 152 passengers and 16 crew members survived. The landing of the TAS-110 plane, however, became one of the most terrifying landings in aviation history. In 2008, the pilots of this plane had to make an emergency landing at the Tonkin International Airport in Hong Kong. During the flight, one of the engines broke down, started smoking, and then began to detach from the wing of the plane, leading to additional problems. The pilots decided to make an emergency landing, but during the process, the plane caught fire, which only worsened the situation. However, thanks to the professionalism of the crew and the promptness of the rescue services, most passengers were able to survive, although there were casualties. The disaster on the railway tracks. This is truly an impressive event that took place on January 9, 2022, in Los Angeles. A Cessna 172 light aircraft made an emergency landing on the railway tracks near Whiteman Airport. Immediately after the landing, a freight train collided with the plane, which was unable to stop in time. Nearby police officers promptly arrived at the scene and began evacuating the pilot. Thanks to their quick and decisive actions, the man was pulled from the cockpit just seconds before the train crashed into the plane. Footage from the police body cameras showed the drama of the situation. Debris from the plane scattered in all directions, barely missing bystanders. Preliminary reports indicate that the cause of the accident was engine failure. This incident was a striking example of the heroism and prompt actions of law enforcement officers, and it also served as a reminder of the importance of adhering to safety regulations both in the air and on the ground. And here's another train disaster that didn't end quite as optimistically. In Nizhny Novgorod, a motorcyclist tried to jump over the crossing in front of an approaching train and didn't make it. A 65-year-old local resident clearly saw that the red light was on and the barrier was down, but still decided to go through the pedestrian crossing. Witnesses reported that the sound of the train was very loud at the moment of the collision. The true reasons why the experienced driver decided to go in front of the approaching train are unknown. Perhaps he didn't see it because of a nearby booth. Or maybe he just thought he could make it across quickly. Either way, the man can't be brought back. And we must always remember the traffic rules at railway crossings and adhere to them strictly. Otherwise, the consequences can be catastrophic. The consequences of poor public service performance. When behind the wheel, you need to be extremely attentive to avoid getting into an unpleasant situation. The driver of this car decided that attention was unnecessary and ran over wires lying on the road. As a result of the collision, the car was thrown into the air and then landed on its roof. Another incident on the roadway occurred in Tyumen. Here, witnesses recorded how a pit filled with boiling water formed on the road. Pipes underground burst, causing this collapse. And by pure chance, no one fell into the boiling pit. And here, a burst occurred right on the roadway. The asphalt unexpectedly lifted and cracked. A dirty fountain erupted from the ground, and the car driving on the road didn't have time to swerve and ended up right in the hole. Accidents on the highway. Look how the truck slides in the tunnel, just like a figure skater. The video would have even been beautiful if it weren't for the explosion that happened in the next second. And here is just an incredible car collision in broad daylight. The red car seems to be looking for something on the road, apparently adventures. Everything happened so fast that the driver didn't even realize that several cars crashed into him. This is what it means to not maintain distance on the highway. A convoy of trucks was moving down the road. And then one truck crashes into the one in front of it at full speed. The explosion was just terrible. Why didn't the truck driver switch to the adjacent lane? Or maybe the cause of the collision was driver fatigue. Did he fall asleep at the wheel? Or, for example, did the brakes fail? Car accidents in urban conditions. This case is not just scary, but truly catastrophic. A 14-year-old girl died after a speeding red car crashed into the back of the truck. The driver of the car faces imprisonment. And in this situation, look at the mistake the car driver made by switching to another lane, which led to the unfortunate accident with the truck. After the truck crashed into several cars on the highway in these footage, the driver faces a lengthy prison sentence. In addition, he will be required to compensate the victims. In prison, he will have time to think about how to follow traffic rules. Here, the car driver decided to quickly dart in front of the approaching truck, but miscalculated. As a result, this reckless act led to a collision involving 3 vehicles. This thoughtless act cost the driver dearly. Watch as the BMW crashes into the hotel registration desk, scaring everyone present to death. It seems the driver was in such a hurry to book a room that he decided not to park in front of the hotel, but to drive straight into it at speed. When a boat trip didn't go as planned. In these shots, the girls have no idea how memorable this trip will be. At one moment, all the passengers were drenched by a huge wave. Now that's something to remember in the winter. It seems this young man really wants to impress the girl, unless he didn't plan on seeing her again. And girl is unlikely to be happy about continuing the acquaintance. Meanwhile, a sailor on the aircraft carrier and a helicopter pilot have some sort of disagreement. The helicopter, approaching the aircraft carrier's platform, simply blew away with a strong gust of wind from its enemy's blades and calmly flew off. One can only guess what caused such a nasty act of revenge. If you decide to go on a cruise on a liner, know that lunch can sometimes not go as planned and become a challenge for everyone, and especially for the staff. The waiter couldn't hold on during the rocking and literally flew off and slammed into the opposite wall. Fortunately, there were no consequences. Look at what's happening. The ship is racing toward the rocks at full sail. Apparently, the captain of the vessel thought it would be beneficial for the passengers to see them up close, but it turned out to be much simpler. He just fell asleep. In our age of scientific and technological progress, having a phone with a camera has become a given. And we are witnessing unique footage of what happens a second before the disaster. And I, my friends, want to make you a very interesting offer. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have skills in video editing, can voice videos in Russian, English, and other languages, or write interesting scripts, we would be happy to work with you. Message our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. That's all for today. Bye.